What's up, UConn fans? Mediocre Dan here, back with another game preview video. Today, taking a look at our opponent, the North Carolina Tar Heels, as the Huskies and Heels head to Madison Square Garden for a top 10 showdown in the Jimmy V Classic. Now, North Carolina comes into this one with a 7-1 record, already supporting wins over Arkansas, Tennessee, and Florida State out of the Power Five conferences this year. The only loss Villanova has, or excuse me, that North Carolina has this season is to Big East Conference rival Villanova. Now, let's take a look at some of the key players to know on North Carolina. And if you're not too familiar with their team, starting with their leading scorer, RJ Davis, a senior guard, been with Carolina all 4 years, maybe a rarity in college basketball these days. He's averaging over 20.4 points per game, but he is undersized compared to our lead guards at just 6 feet tall. Newton probably draws that matchup tonight, which gives us a little bit of a height advantage both on offensive and the defensive side of the ball. Brings me to the second player to know for tonight's game, which is Harrison Ingram, probably who Castle will be drawing from a defensive standpoint, if assuming he plays tonight. 6'7" transfer junior out of Stanford, averaging 14.5 points per game, 6.8 rebounds. North Carolina is a team that crashes the board pretty effectively this season, something UConn has prided themselves on under the Dan Hurley tenure, especially over the last few years. Which brings me to the next guy, Armando Bacot. Dan Hurley joked the other day that it seems like he's been in college basketball forever, which is true. He's been his fifth-year senior using his COVID eligibility, 16.3 points per game, 11.8 boards. He is a traditional big, which means he doesn't step out or have an outside shot, just three-pointers attempted on the year. He's 1 for 3 from deep. So he really just operates mostly close to the rim. He isn't the most efficient around the hoop at just 54.3% from 2-point range. However, probably the best thing he does offensively is draw fouls. He leads North Carolina on 46 free throw attempts this season, shooting 85% from the free throw line. Now that brings us into the three keys of the game, and we'll start with key one. We'll take a look at foul shooting, as that's going to be something North Carolina is going to look to use to their advantage tonight. It's one of the pieces of their offense that they operate really, really well and do really, really well. Over their last 5 games, they're averaging over 31 free throws attempted, shooting 80% on those 31 attempts. The only game in the last 5 that they haven't averaged over 30 attempts was their loss to Villanova, where they had just 23 free throws attempted, only made 16 of those. So if UConn's looking to win tonight, keeping them off the free throw line where they get 25 points per game. For a team that averages 86 points per game, that's a significant portion. That's going to be a key for UConn, is limiting that portion of their offense, playing smart defense. Now, the next thing, key number 2, is controlling the pace in tonight's game. Carolina is a team that likes to get up and down the floor at over 72 possessions per 40 minutes, where UConn sits around 67 possessions per minute. UConn really seems to operate well in that 66 to 70 possession per game area. And I wouldn't be surprised to see North Carolina really want to push the pace tonight, especially considering UConn has a number of injuries, specifically lower body injuries, which running up and down the floor probably isn't going to be the best. Carolina is going to want to try to probably get out and run and push the tempo, and something that UConn's really going to want to be deliberate on the offensive end to not get into a running match with North Carolina and really force them defensively to use up a lot of the shot clock. Now, key 3 to tonight's game is the corner 3 ball. I know that sounds like really random, but let me go into just a couple quick stats here and explain why. So North Carolina shoots 49% on the year from the corner threes, left and right side combined. The D1 average is 34.7%, so they are significantly higher than the D1 average. Above the break, they're just 30.6% on the season. So that's something UConn's going to want to keep them in the center of the floor, really keep them out of the corners. That also probably plays into a little bit with controlling the pace as well, really making them move the ball on offense, find difficult shots, find tough shots. But again, doing so in a way that we're not drawing or creating fouls and free throw opportunities for them. Conversely, on UConn's side of the ball, the corner three has been an area where strangely they've struggled this season. It's the closest three-point shot you can have, and UConn's shooting just 26.7% from the corners this year, compared to 34% above the break. So I know it's only 9 games in, 10 games into the season so far for the Huskies, but I'm sure that'll normalize over time. But it's just a strange stat and something that could come into play tonight, especially down the stretch late, as you know, if possessions become a premium and teams are looking to get some extra points, keeping them out of the corners and making sure we hit our corner threes if they're available to be important. Well, it's going to be a great one tonight at the Garden as the Carolina Tar Heels take on the UConn Huskies. Enjoy the game. Mediocre Dan signing off.